I'm so close to getting that on the live. I was so close.
That would have been
this close.
Boy, that would have took us to the next level.
I don't know what you're talking about.
That would have been great.
Black, y'all, and I'm black, y'all, and I'm blacker than black, and I'm black, y'all, and I'm black, y'all, and I'm black, y'all, and I'm blacker than black, and I'm black, y'all. I'm blickety black, blacker than black, I'm blacker than black, yo, because I'm black and I'm back. Yo, I'm black and I'm black, y'all, and I'm blacker than black, and I'm black, y'all, and I'm black, y'all, and I'm black, y'all, and I'm blacker than black, and I'm black, y'all, and I'm blacker than black, cause I'm black.
Black.
Welcome to Films in Black and White, everybody. How are you all feeling? We are so excited to be with you all for a very spoiler-heavy podcast. Just really quickly getting that out of the way. We are going to get into spoilers for Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. So if you have not seen it yet, put a pin in this and come back because there's not a lot of fluff to this podcast. We are going to get right into things after our usual. But to introduce myself, my name is Doug Wagner, a.k.a. the Broccoli Monster. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. I'm excited to be with you all. Right. Today, we're talking Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. We're talking the movie, what we thought, what we liked, what we didn't. But we are also going to get into what this implies for future of MCU as well, and everything in between. But in order to do this well, in order to do it right, I need to make sure that my colleagues and co-hosts are thoroughly welcomed into this space. So I'm going to kick it on over to Brian Roush, a.k.a. The Living Building. Brian Roush, how are you feeling?
Brian Roush.
Wow, what a wonderful intro. I'm feeling good. I'm happy to be here. I'm very excited to talk about this movie. I saw this movie very early in the weekend, and so I have heard, like, everybody's take on Quantumania, so I'm excited to get into the nitty-gritty exhaustive analysis and discussion with my guys, with Doug and Marcus, to just really pick this all apart. Maggie and I have talked about it a lot, so I feel pretty firm in how I feel about it. So I'm feeling good, and I feel like there's a lot of good stuff to pull out of this movie, so I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm glad you and Maggie saw it Saturday.
Yeah, we did. Yeah. So yeah,
awesome.
we both saw it earlier in the weekend. We got a babysitter, the whole thing. It was great.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I love that for you, Brian. But we are also needing to make sure that Marcus J. Destin, aka Black History Kang, is certainly welcomed into this space. Marcus J., how you feeling?
We here, we are live, we are loud, and we are here in living color. You know what I mean? My daddy said there's only two things in this life I got to do, and that's stay black and die. You feel me?
Oh, that's my favorite Lamont quote. It's like my favorite. Yeah. It's top tier Lamont quote.
Yeah.
That is. Wow. That's
somebody.
That's great.
Somebody tried to correct me and was like, "Don't forget pay taxes." And I said, "You ain't even got to do that." If I'm being honest with you, like,
it's a scam.
Yeah.
The phrase "all I gotta do is stay white and die" doesn't work as well.
That one sounds a little bit more aggressive.
It's a little bit more hostile. I tried it once, and I tried
it with me,
with you, which I felt safe to do it just with you,
which was probably
it's not like I was in a crowd of people, or I was like, "You're right," and the only thing I have to do. No, that didn't happen. That would have been.
That's clearly for the QAnon and the racist folks.
Yeah, I was gonna say they'll love that over there.
I'm still alive, so we know
somebody's listening. They're like, "What did he say? That's wrong. I don't understand. I don't understand what happened."
Oh yeah. Well, good. I'm glad you're doing well. Did you two have the day off today?
Is it really a day off?
I mean, technically.
I did. My institution had the day off. My place of work. So I just stayed in PJs and marathoned Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur with my kiddos who loved it.
I could talk at length about that show and why
great
I liked
show.
it so much.
We was off, but I still feel like I had. You know, when it's a short week, when you get the Monday off and you got to go back Tuesday, and then like we have events on Wednesday and Thursday for Black History Month, so it's kind of like trying to prep stuff for the Monday that is now no longer existing. But
gotcha.
Plus the threat of severe weather yet again. So
again,
was that well?
Again, why are we here?
Yeah, I don't know. I had a good week. I did not have the day off.
Oh,
So I
surprise.
worked. Brittany and the kiddos held it down upstairs. So didn't have any meetings because we work with campuses and they all had the day off. So got to catch up on some administrative stuff, which is good. But all in all, had a good weekend. Brittany was out of town with her sister. They went to a concert Friday, which allowed me to do some prep for this movie.
What concert was it?
She went to see Blake Shelton in Sioux Falls. It was a delayed birthday present that I got for her. So her and her sister went, and I gave her like a girls' weekend also.
We love that.
So got to kick it, which is great.
Wow.
So,
Wow. That's a great present. Good job.
I was very excited about it. I was very proud of myself for that.
You should be. You should be. Before we go anywhere else, I would like to tell everybody that you can follow us on socials. We want you to connect with us. All right. We want you to connect in every way possible. Films in Black and White on Instagram. That is Films in Black and White also on Facebook. And that is Films in B_W on Twitter. And Films in Black and White on TikTok. You never know what you'll find over there. You get show clips. You get a whole bunch of brackets and a bunch of other things on there. So, yeah.
I'm going through a bracket phase on TikTok. I'm going to own this. It's fine.
Well,
everyone come along.
I do every bracket that follows. If it piques my interest, I'm doing it.
I think it's better than the other trend that I've noticed lately. And I'm not talking like about a specific sound, but I don't know. Again, I'm not trying to reveal anything about myself. I'm trying to tell you what shows up on my algorithm, which means a lot of people are doing this. But there's this like...
That's not how that algorithm works, but...
I'm going to hope that that's what that means. Sit here and hope. Not just Doug's weird. So
it's a little bit of that for sure.
Probably a little bit of both. But it's these videos of people using a very specific sound, and then it's like they're cleaning themselves, but they're showing parts of their body that are blurred out to try to get people to pause at the right minute. And I don't know why TikTok is just being like, hey, boobs are fine now. Like there was an issue with them before, but go nuts now. So yeah, it is really they've taken the nip restriction and lowered it down a little bit.
I'll say this.
Yeah.
Not to throw you under the bus, but I haven't seen that trend on.
Okay, that's good.
TikTok.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. So
tells me where I am at in my own world.
Yeah. I just say start over.
Yeah.
All you got to do is watch the same TikTok at least 5 times. Just let it replay itself, and then your algorithm will switch itself, and then you'll be fine.
Well, I remember the one time that I ruined Brian's algorithm because I found somebody who had a fleshlight that looked like the caterpillar from A Bug's Life, and I was shocked. And I sent it to Brian, and Brian was getting fleshlight videos for like 2 weeks straight.
That was a time because like I didn't know what it was, and I opened it, and I was like, "Oh, this is adult content right here, just blaring out of my phone."
And I was shocked at that thing. I had so many questions about what was happening in that particular video overall.
And
shocked and appalled.
And the algorithm was like, okay, this is what you're into. All right, boys, cue it all up, get it all in the hopper, and we're gonna get it to this Brian guy. And then like the next time I opened it, I was like, nope, just gonna swipe. But like
if you have every other video is whatever it is your algorithm thinks you like. It's and I like a little bit of everything because sometimes I like to just hear different perspectives, or it's not like necessarily I want to be in the rabbit hole of this thing that I'm like watching, but then the algorithm is like, oh, you love church stuff? Here's a little bit of people who are stepping away from the church, and here's a little bit of people who absolutely hate the people who are stepping away from church.
That's incredible.
That's really funny you bring that up because I got really into like ex-Mormon TikTok when I first was on there because I was like, I had never heard these stories before. I don't know anyone in real life that's ex-Mormon, and so I was like, this is like this happens. This is real, and then like. I remember I said something to somebody. They're like, I have no idea what you're talking about. And I was like, this is like a whole sub community that I am only seeing right now. Like it was bad, y'all. Like I found like a whole drama thing of like, okay, here's Kaylee and she cheated on her husband with this person. And I knew all these people. Like I knew these people because I kept watching these videos. So
I get hooked into like old clips of SNL I'll watch those like all the time. So I'm on
Yup,
SNL
ditto.
TikTok a lot. And also anytime someone claims to see like a mythical beast, like they like, oh, we got footage of a unicorn. I'm like, I gotta see this shit. Like, and I'll sit there.
Your algorithm's all over the place.
My algorithm is everywhere all at once.
Okay,
That's both a
love it.
movie and a description for Doug's
I love it.
TikTok. And I guess portion of it, like a 16th of it, is Nip Talk, which it is what it is. So we're just gonna go that way. Before we go down that whole rabbit hole,
Nip Talk.
very proud of that one.
That was good.
I made that one up like
That
right
was
now,
good.
and I'm
That's
just
great.
gonna sit in it for a minute because that was a good one.
Nip Talk.
But in all seriousness, we have a whole podcast to get to, and I would love to sit here and go down our rabbit holes of what's in our algorithm, but we got stuff to talk about. Most importantly, we have to get to catch that quotable.
Yes, quotable.
Yeah, silky sound, Marcus J. I don't know why. But gentlemen, we have another great quote. Are you ready for this week's quote?
I'm ready.
Positively.
Okay. Now, just as a heads up, this does seem like there are some moments where it's one quote, it's not an exchange, but it is a quote where someone is sort of stammering over their words. So it's going to sound weird me reading it without acting it. So just as a heads up, it might sound a little goofy. So here we go. We are going to get some go every time. So others so go every time. So others may every time. That's the quote.
Sorry, I was putting my microphone condom on.
I saw that. It was really
Yes.
distracting.
I was
Don't want to get anything on your mouth.
I was trying to put my windshield on. Practice safe. Hashtag quotable sex.
I was just like, I guess he's got to protect his mic, but man,
this podcast got weird.
Protect
like,
the
real
tip.
fast.
Protect the tip. Can you read it again? Because
Yeah,
I
I'm gonna
didn't hear
need that
shit you said.
again.
I'm not gonna lie.
I will read it again. I will read it
solid
again.
word salad.
We are going to get some go every time. So others so go every time. So others may every time.
Okay,
that's the quote.
Folks, I'm gonna be no help here.
Yeah.
This is obvious. It sounds like, I don't want to say obviously. It sounds like a sports movie with somebody who's trying to give a hype speech. Doesn't know what the fuck they're doing.
Yeah, like Blue Mountain State or like any of the other ones that are like
there's
comedies.
Like a football movie that I can't remember, but there's like maybe that's not another team movie when he catches the ball and they rip him in half because he makes the winning catch in the end zone. So that's kind of what I'm thinking is like not another team movie with Freddie Prinze Jr.
Hey, you know.
That's the only guess I got because I have no idea what this is.
And that's the movie Not Another Teen Movie is based off of. That's that's the one about the girl. Not a Teen Movie is with Chris Evans. Fun fact.
She's all that. Is that what you're thinking of?
I think that's
it. Yes, it is. Yes, that's the one I'm thinking of. The one with Chris Evans. It's not that Freddie Prinze Jr. was in the original. Chris Evans then played the. Okay, got it. Yep, that's right.
There you go. So it could be either one of those.
Is this Waterboy? Like, I also feel like Adam Sandler stumbling through speech could be it, but I got no clue.
I was thinking a Will Ferrell movie too, like some type of Will Ferrell sports movie.
He did a sports movie called Kicking and Screaming. That was him. Right? It was him coaching a soccer team, but like a kids soccer team. So
I'm gonna put my guess in. I don't know whose quote this is. I'm guessing we can't get any hints, but I'm gonna say it's the one I just said with Chris Evans, Not Another Teen Movie.
Okay. Brian, what are you locking in? Waterboy?
I'm gonna go Waterboy.
I'll go Kicking and Screaming to spread the gambit, so that way we all get a chance to get
for sure.
All right.
Yeah, because I don't know. This could have literally been anything. It could have been anything.
Okay, so this is from a movie called Division 3, Football's Finest. That is what it is from.
Well, we got the genre right.
We got the genre right, which is something. Yeah. But that's what this is from. The Division 3 Football's Finest from 2011. It stars, oh Lord, Andy Dick, plays Rick Weiss, and after that, Not a whole lot of other folks in this movie outside of
Andy Dick is one of your headliners.
this has a real bang up cast.
Who is Andy Dick?
You'd know him when you see him. He's that blonde-haired, like really skinny dude with like black glasses that are like rectangle glasses.
Is he problematic?
He's
a little.
Yeah. You know who this is.
I know who this is.
Yep.
He has an annoying voice too.
Yep. So this movie also has some other problematic folks in it, like Adam Carolla is in this, and so is Will Sasso. This sounds like a direct to DVD. Oh, got good news, guys! It's on Prime Video. So we wanted to check that out.
This feels like a Prime Video type.
This feels like up there with Velocipaster.
I can tell you one thing though, Patreon family, don't get any ideas.
Don't get cocky.
Don't get any ideas. That ain't
Velocipaster was the limit, and I think that's where it is. Like that's as far as we'll go.
Having sex with a Velocipaster was pretty much it for me.
Oh yeah, that happened.
Yeah,
that was a whole thing.
That was a whole thing.
Yeah, last season, Velocipaster around this time actually. I think we watched.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah,
look at us.
Look at us, full term. But gentlemen, anything else that you want to thank you for Catch That Quotable. If you have a quote, get it to us via socials. But gentlemen, anything that you all want to chat about before we get into the movie itself?
Look at Brian. You got anything, Brian?
No, honestly, no.
Okay.
There's nothing of substance that I can think of. I'll leave it for our next news episode.
Yeah,
I feel like there's a lot in this movie.
There is a lot in this movie.
There's a lot,
and I don't want to take up too many things. I do just want to give like my own personal reflection of things that I have been thinking about. Okay. And one is about the Hogwarts Legacy game. Sure. I'm very jealous that I cannot play it, and I understand the support. There are people split on whether do you play the game, support J.K. Rowling, is that supporting J.K. Rowling? Do you not play the game? People make your own decisions, right? You got to make your own decision. Whatever you can live with morally, that is completely up to you. But I am watching people play the game, and it seems like a lot of fun. That's really just what I wanted to say. And I feel like I hope that other games can incorporate the play style and the open world concept. And if you can do it with wizarding and magic, which has so many different moving pieces in it, I feel like there are other games that need to just follow this, even when it comes down to creating a player, the textures, the hairstyles, everything, to the T of your designing your wand and all that.
Right.
I really hope other games are paying attention on how to do that with other things. So that's really the only one. And then Last of Us, the last episode, was really good. It was good.
Okay.
That show just keeps getting better. I don't want to say more because the fellas haven't watched it yet.
Yeah, we have not watched that yet, so I'm excited to get to it though. Marcus, regarding Hogwarts Legacy, I completely agree. I and here's the thing where I'm caught with is that I don't want to support J.K. Rowling and her transgendered transphobic agenda. But god damn, why'd they have to go and make such a good game? It just looks like so much fun. I want to just go to that world and just run amok, and it just seems like I can, and no one's gonna stop me. I also feel like that same way. I really wish, I was hoping that this movie was going to be this video game was going to be trash. So that way it was going to be eggs on your face. But nah, man,
I don't think it is.
They did it. It looks like they did it based on it.
I don't know. I think it's tough all around because you don't want to give money to somebody you vehemently disagree with that's actively bullying an entire population.
Right.
Yeah.
I get it. On the other hand, it's also if you break it down to that respect, though, then it's getting to this point of we all know capitalism isn't good, and I promise this isn't one of my typical capitalist screeds, but there's no ethical way to be in anything capitalist economy. There's just no ethical way to do it. When you're buying something, it's off of a lot of times off of extortion or people you don't agree with. And so I agree, Marcus, everybody has to draw the line somewhere. But I always come back to that too, because it's just man, at what point, I don't know, it's just I myself, it's I can't. I want to have a good time, but man, J.K. Rowling, like, she's the worst.
Yeah.
I just can't. And maybe like down the line when it's like on resale for like, $20, and
for
like
sure.
going to GameStop and not WB, right? Like if that makes me feel better down the road, I don't know, but I do feel like, me being the Star Wars guy, always going back to that, I do feel like we can make a Jedi Academy game here with a lot of the same elements.
Yeah.
And that'd be great.
That's
so
incredible.
anyway,
Well,
that's my addition to
and
this
that's what like
conversation.
the old school like Knights of the Old Republic was. Like, you remember
little
that
bit.
one? That was you could make your own lightsaber. You had to go get your crystal, and there was all this other shit you had to do. Like, it was absolutely awesome.
You want to kill a planet's ocean system? Okay, sure.
Go nuts.
Make
fun.
that choice.
Go ahead and do that. Yeah.
I like games like that where you get to decide in the end, what do you want to be? Do you want to be a Jedi? Do you want to be a Sith? You get to make all the decisions you want to.
Yeah.
We're going to give you the tools, but I really enjoy games like that because, first of all, it'll keep you playing the game multiple times for you to go down either route and either, you know what I mean? And so that's just really fun. That's my only thing.
There was a video game that came out that I absolutely loved called Fable. That all about choices, and I played that once as bad, once as good, and then once in the middle. Like, I loved every second.
God, why didn't they make more Fable games? Jeez, man.
I mean, they made 3 of them.
Yeah,
was it 3? I don't remember the third one. I do remember the first
3 for sure. I never played the third one, but
I played the second and the third one, and the third one was really good because like. Basically the first half of the game is like, I'm gonna depose the dictator and free the land, and then you like get to that battle and you're like, I've only been playing this game for like 10 hours, this is weird. And then it's like you defeat the guy and the guy's like, anyway, all I've been doing is to like fend off the darkness that's coming. And then the game switches to there's like a management sim component to it. And it's like,
shit.
Anyway, you have 3 months before the darkness comes, and the only way you can save people is to like save up money. So it was like however much money you had equal to how many people of the kingdom you saved. Okay. So it made you like make these decisions like, well, we could build this really expensive school, or you could build this really cheap brothel and make money. So it was like you making decisions between build a school or a brothel, but like knowing the more money you save up, the more people you save. Like, so it really messed with your head.
What a juxtaposition.
That's a dilemma.
Honestly, there's some good YouTube, like if that interests you, I know there's some good YouTube playthroughs on that. Like it's wild. And there's like even more decisions like that. It's like we can have a clean mill, or we could pollute the whole river and save a bunch of money.
That's incredible. Wow. Yeah, that's great. I might have to check those videos out because that sounds really cool. The last, really quickly before we dive into the movie review, I want to put out a big plug for Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur on Disney Plus. Brian mentioned it at the top, but I really want to come back to it for a couple of reasons. One, I think this is an all black cast, or at least all people of color. I mean, majority that way. Like, and the other thing is, so one, love to see representation on a platform like Disney Plus and putting it out there, which is great. Two, it's just that even in and of itself, it's just a great show. Like, it's fun, it's entertaining, and it is Harrison's like new favorite thing. That is the only thing that he wants to watch. We were at the comic book store on Saturday before I left Sioux Falls and came back. He walked through and he saw a Moon Girl comic and he was like, Dad, that one. Like, can we read that one? And I was like, yeah, man. Like, absolutely we can. And this is like opening up a whole world because Harrison's a big dinosaur kid. So a superhero that's really smart and into science and has a dinosaur as a friend, that is like checking every single box that he has. So tip of the hat to Disney and Disney Plus and just Marvel in general, because this is just really well done.
And I just want to say, like, even if you're like, y'all are talking about a kid's show, like, okay, whatever. I guarantee you, if you're into any type of animation, like if you enjoy anime, if you watch like the most recent Cyberpunk thing on Netflix, if you are into like the DC Harley Quinn stuff or just the Justice League or Justice League Unlimited, if you enjoy that animation style, you are really going to dig Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaurs animation style. It's super fresh. I don't really know how to describe it. But it really does feel like it's a comic leaping off of the page, and it's really well done. There's really good music. And I do want to call out real quick that the only white person in the as a mainstay in the cast is the dinosaur, it appears. So Devil Dinosaur, everyone else is a person of color, and they all they kill it. Absolutely kill it.
Kudos. Yep. I heard Jennifer Hudson was a voice of a character on there. It came across my TikTok, so now I gotta watch it. I'll tell you what, Proud Family, The Return, or the Crowder Family, also another great show to just watch, and not just a kid show anymore. Like really covers a lot of topics. So the black animation and the black lead characters that Disney is doing, I think they're one of the platforms that is just doing their darndest to do it as best they can. So you got to give kudos to that.
I was shocked the one day, and hold on, not shocked, surprised one day when Harrison goes can we watch that? And he was pointing to the Proud Family, just because it's not something that we ever showed him, but he wanted to watch it. And again, that is another one that is in his repertoire of things that he just absolutely cannot get enough of. So
we love that. Harrison can be so diverse.
I feel very happy about
ready,
it.
Prepared. Yeah. My guy's going to be ready to take on the world.
But gentlemen, we have a whole movie to get to. So
we do.
We are going to talk Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania. So if you are listening to this or if you're watching this and you have not seen it, put a pin in it, come back later and enjoy it there. There'll be timestamps below so you can jump right in or jump right out whenever you need to. But Marcus, care to relegate us with your barbershop summary of Ant-Man and the Wasp?
Oh, I can't wait.
I'm very excited for this one.
Okay, so there's this annoying girl. There's this annoying little girl, right? Her name is Cassie Lang, okay? And she just be doing stuff she ain't got no business doing, okay? So keep that in mind. So we find Ant-Man, our hero of the last phase, right? The one who saved all the heroes, brought us in game, brought everybody back together. He's back, okay? And not only is he back, but he's finally getting the recognition that he deserved for saving everybody. He's a hero on the streets. Everybody loves him. He's living this new lifestyle that is not as much Ant-Man as it is more Scott Lang basking in the joys of being a superhero more so. It's not we usually see the sad stuff, but now we see him in more the joys of it, right? So he's enjoying it. He done wrote a book. He goes to Baskin Robbins, gets employee of the forever century. The century of the century. Thank you. And he's living his best life. And so is Scott and his, oh my gosh, Janet, Scott and Janet. Janet is living her best life. She is now taking over the company with her father, and like she's doing all these good things with Pym Particles, and the parents are also doing their thing too as well. Okay, cool. Cassie is getting into trouble because she wants to help people so damn bad, right? She wants to be a hero. She want to have a suit. She want to be the ant woman, whatever it is. She wants to do that, and so they go and they have the situation where she ends up in jail, and it's in the only time she ends up in jail, but she ends up in jail because she's trying to help people and uses the technology to, get back at people, like shrinking a cop car. Anyway, moving forward, fast forward. Cassie says she's giving Scott kind of a hard time because Scott wasn't there for a lot of her childhood, but it's not his fault. Okay, so cool. And he keeps Scott is trying to be there for his daughter. He's not really focused on being Ant-Man. He's just focused on being a dad right now, trying to be the best dad that he can be. And so they're kind of at this crossroads of like, she wants to help and she loves the things that Ant-Man does, but Scott is not trying to be Ant-Man and teach all that shit. Anyway, moving forward. So she created this device with her granddaddy, and her granddaddy have been working to ping or send a signal to the quantum realm. All right. So basically she was like, I miss my daddy Scott. If I had have known how to do this before, I would have been able to find you in the quantum realm and ping you and pull you out. So they was like, oh, word, that's pretty cool. Let's show us what you can do. Except the mama who is I always want Michelle Pfeiffer. That's right. That is right.
No, that's right.
Yeah,
okay.
Michelle Pfeiffer, that
Michelle
white
Pfeiffer. And so Michelle Pfeiffer is like, hey, you need to turn that shit off right now. And it was like, all right, but she said it like in a very sexy way with white wispy hair.
Off.
She was like, you gotta turn that shit off. And I was like, yes, mommy. And so she he turns it off, and Cassie doesn't turn it off in time. They all get sucked into the quantum realm. Hence this adventure through the quantum realm, meeting MODOK, meeting Kang the Conqueror, and learning more about the life that Janet's mom was living in the quantum realm.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. The only thing is that Michelle Pfeiffer's character is named Janet, and Hope Van Dyne is the daughter.
Hope.
No,
thank you.
Yeah.
Other than that, knocked it out of the park.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
That's a great synopsis.
What's the granddaddy name?
Hank.
Hank
Pym. Yep. So yeah, so that is.
I have an initial question.
Okay.
As comic book readers, do we feel any kind of way that Scott is not intellectually the same Scott that we know from like Avengers the cartoons and comic books? Because like Scott is a genius in the comics, if I'm not mistaken, right? Like
Hank is still a scientific genius,
right? Oh, they just
Scott is very much still a criminal. Like he's still a thief.
Okay. Is it like that in the comics too as well?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay, I've got my characters mixed up.
Yep,
I've always been wondering that through all of these, and nobody else has said anything, so I figured it was me. Okay.
Shout out to Anna. She can't remember Hope's name either. That's so you're not alone, Marcus. So shout out to
I don't
Anna
know if that's a good.
I
don't even know if that's a good thing, Anna. If I'll be honest with you, she didn't have a lot of role in this outside of like a super duper support character, like almost fourth string.
I cannot think of another movie where the title characters had such few lines, or even like she didn't even have an arc. By the way, like which
she just was doing good.
Yeah, really weird. Like I don't want to. We can get into it, but like it was so strange that like you have Evangeline Lilly. I'm not saying she's like a mega TV or movie star, but it's like
she's her character knows that.
It's like called Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Right. She's co-titled on this movie. So I figured it would be something with her. And she gets relegated to like, Mom, tell me what happened. Like with the only material that she's given, like Evangeline Lilly is just like, tell me what happened, Mom. And then Peyton Reed was like, okay, we're going to do that 3 more times. And we're moving on.
That's also true. And Anna also says she doesn't even seem to like Scott very much, but apparently they're in love. That was the thing that threw me off at the end. I don't want to jump there, but it threw me off at the end when they were like, I love you, Scott. And he was like, you came back for me? I was almost just as surprised that she came back for Scott because I didn't know if they was really clicking like that.
Also, like the whole movie to me had this thing of like Ant-Man and Cassie and Scott, like their relationship.
Can I give everybody cast of characters before we just start throwing people out? Like just really quick.
We're messing with your flow.
No, it's fine, but this might be helpful for everybody to know who we're talking about, who's supposed to be in this movie.
We ready to go. I knew
you're ready.
We are very ready.
Chomping at the bit. So like I'm glad that you're excited, but let's just lay the landscape, right? So Paul Rudd is Scott Lang, Evangeline Lilly plays Hope Van Dyne, Michael Douglas comes back as Dr. Hank Pym, Michelle Pfeiffer comes back as Janet Van Dyne, Jonathan Majors plays Kang the Conqueror,
he does. Catherine
Newton is Cassie Lang. I don't know why Bill Murray gets a credit because he's Bill Murray, but Bill Murray plays Lord Krylar. Caddy M. O'Brien plays Jenna Tora. She was the sort of general lady. And then William Jackson Harper plays Quaz. Then there are some other folks via flashbacks that are included in this, like Randall Park is included in this a couple of times. But other than that, those are your cast of characters. So, gentlemen, get back into it. Like, I completely agree with where you were at before I interrupted. Hope is not in this movie. Like this is Ant-Man and Cassie taking on the quantum realm. This does not feel like an Ant-Man and the Wasp movie like at all.
What was the name of the general? What was her name?
Gentora.
Gentora.
How do you spell that?
Gentorra.
Okay, I'll be back.
I closed the window.
Okay.
I'll be soon. I'll be back. Well, goodbye. Like, go ahead, Brian.
It was just weird because like the whole movie's kind of played with this relationship with Scott and Cassie to some success and some not. So like when the portal opened again, I was like, oh, like it's Cassie because like it's been him and Cassie trying to pass on the torch or trying to save one another. Yeah. And then when Hope came, I was like, okay. Like, all right. Yeah. And then she's like, I love you so much, Scott. And I'm like, I don't even think we heard you say that at even the start of the movie. So this is just kind of like,
she most certainly doesn't say it. So for record, for everybody to know, I watched a string of shit because Brittany was out of town before like this movie. So I watched Ant-Man and the Wasp. I watched the season finale of Loki. And then I also watched 2/3 of Endgame. So that way I was well inversed as far as where things are at.
That's
a long movie.
That's a lot.
It is a lot. Anna, to answer your question, yes, Cassie does have a superhero name, not in the movie, but she does in the comic books. She has two, actually. The first is she is Stature, and that is when she is a member of the Young Avengers in the comic books. And then the other one is Stinger, and that is when she's more stepping into her role in sort of the Ant-Man world of things. So she has
I did not realize she had a second code name.
ones. So yeah, Young Avengers, she debuts as Stature in May of 2006. Stinger, she debuts in May of 2016. So that is who she is.
To answer the second question, Anna, from reports, from things that have been reported, they are not focused on the Young Avengers movie at the moment. And so while they are introducing them, and obviously down the road we could see this like obviously happening maybe like phase 9 once everybody ages up or whatever the case may be, they said that they aren't focused on Young Avengers at the moment.
If Bob Iger wasn't CEO, I would say we're going to get a Disney Plus show about it. But he's stepped in and reined things in a little bit. So, but yes, the other thing I think that we're just going to get into it.
But yeah, we don't need to be linear here. Like what's standing out to you?
There are certain things about this movie that doesn't feel like an Ant-Man and the Wasp movie. There are certain things about this movie that doesn't feel like an Ant-Man movie. And chief among those things is the playing with height.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
In the first two, there are moments where we're taking Scott and we're putting him into fighting on a train set, or we're putting Hope and she's running across the blade of a knife because she's that small. We didn't really get to experience that so much here, where it was really more of a like, do you like science and Ant-Man? Enjoy Ant-Man and the Wasp. And that's not a critique. I think broadly speaking, and just to get this out of the way, I enjoyed this movie. I had a lot of fun with it. There was a lot of cool shit in here that I enjoyed watching. But there are moments where I'm like, there are just pieces from previous Ant-Man films that just aren't present. And that is interesting.
Well, and I feel like the other two movies were like superhero movie, but make it a heist, which is why I love the Ant-Man movies. Like,
they're great.
I love a good heist. Yeah, like always. So that's what always clicked with me about those movies. And this movie was very much just not that, like, which is fine for me. But I agree with your audience expectations. Both of the movies were heist movies, and then it's like, okay, anyway, in the first half hour, we're going to introduce you to like Scott's daughter again. By the way, this is the fourth actress that has played Cassie. Catherine Newton did a phenomenal job, but like also you have to introduce the audience like, no, this is y'all, this is Cassie now, and we got to get to know her again. Anyway, you get reintroduced to Cassie. You find out Scott has been just fine post-Avenger life. And then you have to buy into the quantum realm and Michelle Pfeiffer fighting amoebas. Like you have to be okay with that in the first 30 minutes of this movie. And if you're not, oh boy.
All right. So
okay, here we go. Yep, here it is. Let's do it. Just get it out of the way.
Here's my opinion.
Pull this Band-Aid off.
I feel as if I enjoyed this movie too. I disagree with all of the hate, like over hatred that the movie is getting on TikTok.
Yeah, it's weird.
Half of that, I believe, is just MCU haters looking for a reason to hate, like to be mad at him. You know, when the field gets oversaturized, and that's like predominantly the thing that's coming out most consistently. Of course, anybody's going to look for a reason to see like why this shit is so unsuccessful. Like this is exactly why this thing isn't working. Now, there are pieces throughout this that something ain't connecting with me. And one of the things I'll start with is I feel like the ending was too perfect. It was predictable, right? It was as if I wrote it. You know what I mean? Like it was kind of like, okay, all right, so he's gonna get his ass beat by Kang, and then the portal's gonna open, and then guess what? Somebody ain't gonna make it through. And then guess what? Somebody didn't make it through. But then when I thought, I was like, oh, okay, I like this ending where Scott and Hope get stuck in the quantum realm for almost all of phase 5 until they get founded. And then Cassie is like, she becomes the new ant person, Ant-Man, Ant whatever. Yeah. And then she takes over the role until while she try to find her dad. And like, she does that with her grandmother, and they do that thing. They do the super heroine thing. That was going to be cool. But then the portal opens, and then they just go home, and then they eat cake. And then they have like this full perfect ending. And to me, and I know Scott has this like temporary crisis in his head of like, oh my God, what's going to happen next? Did I really just mess this stuff up? I don't know what's going on. Everything just felt a little bit too perfect for it to be the kickoff of phase 5 and introducing a character like Kang. Is that making sense?
I'm totally on the other side of this.
I told you it was gonna be one of those pods. I told you. Yeah.
I totally get where you're coming from, like on a first pass, but like and maybe this is because like I've dealt with anxiety like a bit in at least over the past few years, but like I do want to give a shout out to Peyton Reed and his filmmaking, because the last 5 minutes of this is like the best way I could ever explain like when you get not an anxiety attack. This is not an anxiety attack, but when you like have persistent anxiety of Scott being like, yeah, everything's fine, but he did say like everything was gonna end, and like the music cuts out and he's like super concerned. He's like, I'm sure it's fine. And they do that gag 3 times. Anyway, that's exactly how I feel about very small things of like, did I turn the gas off in my home? I'm sure it's fine. Like very, very good manifestation of like showing somebody with anxiety. I thought that was cool.
He's catastrophizing his own actions. Like as someone who talks to a therapist weekly about anxiety, yes, he is catastrophizing his own actions where he's taking it and he's saying, holy shit.
Yeah.
They said something's worse. That's no one else's fault but mine. Like, but I'm not. So I see your point. I actually see both of your points. I'm probably somewhere in the middle of this because I get where they went with it. I mean, setting things up like everything's fine except for that internal dialogue that it's not. But there's this other part where I see Marcus's point of like, you couldn't have left them there. Like I would have loved to have them be stranded there. I was generally, and again, for those just joining us, I like to watch people suffer a little bit. So there's
and
that.
suck on Whoppers.
Your subtitle, by the way.
Doug enjoys suffering.
I
would have loved for them
sucking
to
Whoppers.
be like, I just think it's a more compelling story when the stakes are like, yeah, you beat Kang, but you're stuck here. Like, and everything has to exist outside of that. And so I think it sets up other things in the MCU better that way too. Like if that's the way they go with it, we'll see what the payoff is, but yeah.
But I guess he was already stuck there.
Not just me.
Anna loves Whoppers.
It's not the idea of loving Whoppers. It's the process of eating Whoppers with Douglas. That's the issue.
I don't you suck them till they melt.
You don't.
Right, great. Awesome. Awesome. Glad that this is a reoccurring thing on the podcast. Glad. I'm so glad.
Whoppers should just sponsor us. I'll put a whole fucking sign back there.
Also, side note, can Runts, please, can somebody solo me out? So somebody solo me out.
Oh, I'll solo you. I got you.
I'm just drinking my tea. Hang on.
I have something that I want to say to Runts, the
so
candy
much chaotic
company.
Energy.
All
here.
right, Runts, the candy company. Do Marcus J. Destin a favor. First, if you want to sponsor us. I love Runts. Okay, I love eating Runts. Everybody's like, Runts is a hard ass candy. You need to get a harder ass mouth. How about that? Okay,
you can suck on those too.
You can. That's not what I'm talking about right now. Listen, Runts, you are an amazing candy company, but I need you to do me a favor. Stop making banana flavored Runts, okay? Just make a box without banana flavor. Just toss it out. That would just be great. And then you would have the perfect box of candy. Thank you.
I would agree with you. Yeah, I'd agree with that. 100%. Let me take you off the so they go. Yeah, 100%. You could get rid of those. Nobody eats those. I throw them away.
I feel like thank you, Anna. See, Anna's in the right place.
Anna's found her people. That's
yeah. You are home. Welcome home, Anna. Welcome home. Welcome.
But
Anna, are you okay? Anna, are you okay? Are you okay, Anna?
God damn it. But yes, I think that this is, I like to see people suffer. So I agree with the, like, something didn't seem right. Like it seemed too perfect, but the other side of it, Brian, like I do think that that's a very humanizing moment for Scott there too. So I'm somewhere in the middle.
But we know as an audience, like it is not okay.
Right.
None of this is okay.
Oh, no.
Like we know we know Kang didn't that. Oh my gosh. The exiled Kang did not die. We know that. We didn't see a body. It's MCU.
No body,
we
no
know
blood.
he is alive. On top of it, the people who exiled him, so we're getting into mid-credits scenes here.
Yeah.
The people that exiled him are like, hey, like Ant-Man just kicked this guy's butt. We gotta call the people. And they're like, who should we call? And they're like, literally everybody. Ant-Man just beat a Kang. Like, call everyone. And the Council of Kangs looks like they're at like an Ohio State football game, ready to like get their game on. Which, by the way, I loved that interpretation. That was rad as hell.
They're in the
Props
middle
to
of
Jonathan
the Rose Bowl.
Majors.
Yeah.
Like it looks like it was like the Kang Rose Bowl. Which
it was right out of the comic book too. Like the face of the one Kang in the top corner. Like Marvel is doing this shot panel for panel shot of the comic book, and I thought that was good.
Well, and it was still fresh though. It was still felt very MCU, even taking that inspiration. So like I got to the end of this movie and it wasn't like, yeah, we defeated Kang. It was more like when I got to the end of the movie, it was like, oh no, like what did you do, Scott? And like that was the feeling I had, because it was like he didn't even know about the Council of Kangs. Like he's just thinking about the one Kang. He doesn't even know the multiverse exists.
I mean, the only person who knows about the Council of Kangs would be Loki. And that's only because of what he learned from talking to He Who Remains. He knows that there's more of them, but he doesn't know that they all talk.
Yeah,
he just knows that there's more of them.
So can we get into this nitty-gritty kind of related to the movie?
Please, I'm prepared.
So the way I'm understanding it, and anybody feel free to jump in if I get it wrong. So basically we have Loki season finale happen, and we have the One Who Remains, who essentially eliminated all we don't understand exactly how, but the end result, he's the only Kang. He has one sacred timeline. He's the winner. He survives. He gets killed, and the timeline starts having Nexus events, and it starts splintering into the multiverse. At that point, is that when we're thinking the Council of Kangs is formed? Like that's the moment where like all the Kangs come back? Is that what we're thinking?
The way that I interpret it is probably not far off from that, Brian. So as a refresher for those who maybe didn't watch the season finale of Loki or just need an up-to-date, he says, I was able to isolate the timeline and I just prevented any further branching. Now, he doesn't say that he eliminated anybody else. He just said, I was able to preserve this so that way it didn't branch anymore, to prevent basically all of these other things from happening.
Okay.
The way that I am understanding it is that He Who Remains is killed, so it starts branching off into these other versions, and that's what those three Kangs are concerned about, is that we worked hard to get this into one streamlined thing,
right?
And it's actually Ant-Man's fault that it's branching off, not realizing all the other stuff from Loki happened. So there's a lot going on. A lot of other things happening here where because I think that's where because remember they ruined all our hard work, and then there's this shot of all the branching happening. I'm interpreting as the branching is this prevented the war from taking place, so we could all get our bag and get ours, essentially.
Got it.
Oh, jeez.
Okay, I didn't piece that together like that, and I missed a step. I want to skip the feud, and here's the thing about Phase 5. It's going to require me to keep up with a lot of moving pieces.
Yeah.
Like a lot of moving like variants, like keeping up with all of the variants. Like that's kind of hard for me. The One Who Remains must have been with the other three Kangs that called the council meeting, right? Like one of the core powerful Kangs. I'm assuming. Then he dies. There's only three left. Is that okay?
No, there's a couple people here that are missing. So let me kind of give you up to speed on all the research I've done regarding Kang. So Kang the Conqueror, one of many Kangs. First off, Kang's first appearance is in Fantastic Four number 19 in 1961 as Rama Tut. So one of the three Kangs that we saw in that post-credit scene was someone in a very Egyptian garb. That's Rama Tut, one of the original versions of Kang. So it's sort of a tip of the hat and a nod to like the original first appearance. There's also a Mortis, which was the other Kang that was in a full suit, like a full garb, and then there is the hold on, I want to look up the name right because it's important that I get it. But there's also another version of
Scarlet Centurion, right?
Scarlet Centurion is rumored to be that third version, and they are some of the more powerful versions of Kang.
Right.
Kang's original, like my understanding of his original, like first interpretation of why he's doing what he's doing is he kind of hints at it. He says like, I've lost a lot. So he has this exchange with him. He's like, I've lost a lot. My understanding is that his wife and kid died.
Yes.
And then he learned how to manipulate time to be able to go back and essentially replace them. But as he started doing it, it kept slipping through his fingers because he started encountering more Kangs and kind of goes off that way. There is another Kang called Kang Prime to kind of to kind of imply the Prime timeline. The way that the Council of Kangs worked is they kind of came together to make decisions, but Immortus actually tricks Prime Kang into saying, like, you should go out and kill every other version of Kang so that way, you know, you have a better shot at getting your wife and your kid back. And he kind of falls for that and starts going off in Kangs, and that's how he becomes the strongest one and how we get so few going forward. So I imagine going forward, the theme of this will be is this might be not be Kang the Conqueror that we deal with going forward. It is going to be like Kang Prime that we end up dealing with at the end. There's also rumors on the street that there could be a Beyonder appearance in there. That seems a bridge too far, but that because Beyonder is another version of Kang who's responsible for the events of Secret Wars to a certain extent.
I think to your point, Marcus, reviewing all that, I think the one who remains, the one that showed up in Loki, I think he's a done deal. I think that Kang is dead.
No, he's gone. Right, he's dead. But would he have been, when he was alive, a part of that original 3 of most powerful Kangs?
Probably installed by the Council of Kangs to preserve the Prime timeline.
Right. So, like, that's the only part I'm confused on is why it was him that was chosen to maintain the timeline solo, and then the other 3 were there. Here is kind of one of the things I'm dealing with right now. I know Phase 5 just kicked off, but that's a lot. You know what I mean? Like, and to see the main Kang quote unquote die, now I'm confused again of like, okay, so when do we actually get the Kang that we need to see? I know that that's not the purpose, but that's where my head is at.
Fair question.
So in the interviews that Kevin Feige that he's been doing, he says that that Quantumania is a direct line to Kang Dynasty.
Okay.
So if I'm just taking it at those words, I think it could be as simple as like we see these variants of Kang popping up like in different places, and people are just like, that's weird, and they kind of like move on with the main movie. But it's maybe getting to a multiversal point where there's more incursions, which they mention like at the literal end of Multiverse of Madness. And at that point, something is going to happen in Kang Dynasty where that Kang, the Conqueror or the Ant-Man Kang, however we want to title him, he's coming back. And maybe he doesn't feel like Kang anymore. Maybe he's something else.
He's beyond Kang.
I don't know. I don't know if that's the way it goes, or maybe he is the big bad Kang because he's like been stuck there forever and he wipes out everybody. So that's kind of where my head's at.
Well, he would be the smartest Kang if he enters this from the videos I've seen. Like, he enters the probability storm and he's with all these other Kangs, and then he becomes the smartest Kang because he sees all the possibilities and everything that could happen and everything that will be. Then that takes him to the. I'm a believer in the Beyonder route that Kang becomes the Beyonder, but we can talk about that at a different day.
That's a whole. The Beyonder is his whole other thing.
I don't know,
and it's a lot. I think if we kind of bring this ship back to Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania,
let's do it.
I think Anna brings up a really great point that I think is both kind of problematic for the movie overall, because she asks, like, why was he trying to escape? Why was he banished? In terms of motivation for a villain, we're not really clear on it. We know he's a bad dude, but it's all in to use Law and Order language, it's all circumstantial evidence, right? Like it's all like people are saying like, oh, he's the worst, or oh, he's really dangerous. Even Janet goes like, I touched it and I saw all the terrible things that he did, but we never really truly understand what he's trying to escape to go and do. And so I think in terms of like villain motivation, I think he's a great big bad. I mean, he scared the shit out of me.
Yeah, Jonathan Majors steals the show.
He's fantastic. This movie is like, he did great. That line where he delivers, there was one comment I saw like in terms of like online like hate. I kind of said like, someone said like, oh, I don't know what the stakes are for Ant-Man. I was like, how do you know what the stakes are? Like literally Kang says to Ant-Man, I'm going to kill your daughter and I'm going to make you relive that same moment over and over and over again until you beg me to die.
Which is the reason Scott wanted shit. That's why he stopped being Ant-Man, was to be with his daughter.
100%.
Like that was the whole purpose. He didn't want her to be a hero. He didn't want her to. Yeah, they're high.
Yeah. I worry about media literacy. Like there's no other way to interpret Jonathan Majors like making that monologue. Unless you're doing it in bad faith. Like there's no way that I get there of like there's no stakes. Like, dude, he's gonna kill his daughter. Like you might say like, oh, that's super basic or tropey. Sure, maybe. But it's very clear what the villain is doing and what Scott needs to do.
Can I play devil's advocate a little bit there?
Please. How's that?
I understand that the stakes is killing the daughter, right? But going back to my point, the ending is so perfect. I don't feel like I lost. I don't feel like the stakes were there because he got everything. Everything ended perfectly, quote unquote, for Scott outside of what we know is going to lead into something bigger. Like, let's remove that part for right now. At the end of this scene, he's eating a birthday cake with his family around them. The daughter gets a suit. Everybody's back. Everybody's happy. So I can understand to maybe the average consumer who doesn't really pay attention to movies as much, the stakes didn't seem as high because the villain lost. Ant-Man got everything he wanted and everything seems fine. And that's it. And surrounding, I also want to add another like layer. This is considered the kickoff to Phase 5 and introducing the biggest of the biggest bads of like officially. So I don't know what thoughts are on that.
I mean, this does feel very much like it feels like this is going to be a moment. And I feel like this is recently, like, again, getting a little bit away from Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania and a little bit into like the state of the MCU as of now. It does seem to me that like stingers or end of movies seem to be moments where it's like, we're going to pick this up later, 2 years from now. Like I fully expect a scene where that starts another movie, whether that's the Kang Dynasty, whatever that is, where you open up on that exact birthday cake scene and you see it from Scott's perspective, and there's a Kang sitting across the fucking room,
100%,
which is
drinking a scotch, and
yeah.
that's what I think is happening. And I think the reason why is this is more of Kevin Feige being like, no.
Got it.
You gotta fucking wait. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's what it feels like this is. Because they did the same thing with Doctor Strange, where it was like, let's jump into the dark dimension, rip, jump, end credits. And you're like, wait, what? Yeah. Like, that seems very halted. That's very like stagger, like a very stark stop. So we're getting another stark stop at the end of this one. And it's sort of, I think it's leaving us kind of going like, wait a minute, what?
Well, I guess I mean, going back to what you said, Marcus, I guess for me, like it maybe wasn't like the most exciting like stakes. If we're like it wasn't anything like we do this or the quantum realm has changed forever, or we open up multiversal travel forever. It was really just like, I want to save my daughter, which again, very, very basic, but like that's what Scott's one of his main motivations through all three movies. He's always been trying to do this stuff for his daughter. I don't know if it was elegantly executed. I'm happy to say that. Like, I feel like there was a lot happening in this movie, and it feels like there's a 2.5 hour cut that somebody made, and like they're like, no, we can't make another 2.5 Marvel MCU movie. We can't do that. We got to cut this down. So maybe there's like more context and lines there that lead to it or like deepen that relationship, because like I think the pace of this movie maybe contributes to that feeling, Marcus, of like, what just happened? Like I feel like everything and nothing happened because the movie is moving so fast.
This movie does not stop. It's like, I hope you all are still and then I told Marcus this is that, and again, I want to say this again. I enjoyed this movie, but one of the things that I think this movie does is it does feel like a little bit like someone is playing improv while they're writing. They were sort of like, okay, yes, and okay, they dive down to the quantum realm. Great, yes, and they're like, and then meet a guy who wants to know how many holes he has. Great, yes, and Bill Murray shows up, and he's kind of there for like a second, so that way he can be in it, and there's hype around him being in it. And then yes, and what about MODOK? And then yes, and it's just like at some point in time, it's like are we at the end of this movie yet? Like, what the fuck is happening here? So it does feel like they do kind of like keep piling it on and expect you as a viewer to kind of dig yourself out of it, which is a lot.
This movie, all right, my main thesis for this movie when I describe it to people,
I love it when Brian says the word thesis because it's going to be great,
is basically like, this is to me a classic B movie sci-fi genre like type film.
Sure.
Like it is something that is fun. There are amazing visuals. The character designs are like straight up inspired. There's a lot of high concepts here. Like by the time you reach Gentara and her band of resistance fighters, like you're either on board with this movie or not when you're drinking the red goo to understand everybody. Like I feel like that's the point where it's like, if you're not enjoying this movie, like just stop, because it only goes weirder from here. Like
that's a make or break point.
I do feel like that's the break point in this movie, because after that it's like, anyway, here's a multiversal storm, just go with it. Anyway, Kang sees the future. He knows exactly what's going to happen. Enjoy. Like the buildings are alive. It's just like, it's that type of stuff, Doug, where like, I totally agree with you. It is very much a yes and of like, we're going to get weird with this. And that is like, they really wanted that to be the setting. Like, I don't know, to make you feel off balance, to make it feel like, wow, we are like way off the radar. We are way off, like past the red line of what we know. It works for me because I love high concept sci-fi, but I also understand for some people, like that doesn't work for them. Like, because it's a lot of concepts to be okay with, to then enjoy the end of the movie.
Do you like Farscape? What if we made it Marvel? And it's got a little bit of that going on.
Sure.
Especially that scene where you're in the bar and you're like, what? Okay. I do want to take a minute and talk about another piece of this movie that I loved, which is Hank Pym. Yeah. I don't know if he was written to be
the audience
surly pirate of like the surly pirate of this whole movie, but when he's walking through things going like, holy shit, that guy's made of broccoli. Like, and there's a part of me that's like, did somebody know? It felt like they were like, okay, hey, you're gonna do your screen test. Here's some of the aliens, and he reacted that way just naturally. Like Michael Douglas was just like, holy shit, a broccoli man, and they were like, put it in there. Like, it just, because that was like, oh my, and he says it again. He's like, oh my, holy shit. Like,
yeah, he gets both of those. Like,
yeah, he's the reason this is PG-13. Like, he's the reason.
You only get so many.
Yeah. So I really appreciated Michael Douglas's acting in this. Like, I thought it was very like a breath of fresh air.
I mean, yeah, I mean, like he flies a spaceship with like goo arms. Like I don't even know. It is very out there sci-fi kind of pulp type stuff, and I think that's the reason I enjoyed it. Like that is definitely one of the reasons I enjoyed it, as well as the Cassie Scott stuff. I thought Catherine Newton did a really good job in her
Marcus
role as
did not. Marcus, within the first 30 minutes of this movie, goes,
What?
I find her to be so obnoxious. And my response was like, well, maybe she'll die. Like,
I mean, Kang did threaten to kill her.
He did, and he was not fucking around. Here's the reason why. It's not the actress. It was just the character, right? And it's like, I get it. Like, passionate teen who wants to be a hero. You saw your dad be a hero, and your dad's been gone, and you really want to step up and be part of the family, and you have these abilities and the knowledge to be able to do that.
Sure.
But it felt like she was blaming Scott sometimes. And I was like, damn, like, but he didn't have a choice to be gone. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, he didn't ask to get blipped, and she was like taking it out on him. And he put all of this aside to be a dad to you. And to me, I felt like, okay, those moments that she kept like rebelling and not listening against it, like she was missing that point that like, hey, he sacrificed a lot. And to me, I guess from an outside perspective, obviously, you know, she's not going to know how much he sacrificed and all this other stuff, but he did write a book about it. You know what I mean? And like, she does live with him. And I just felt like that point just kept being missed. So to me, she was being annoying, but by the end of it, I was fine. Like, I was fine with her as a character.
I do think you bring up a good point though, like and maybe this is setting, again, this does feel like we're setting the table for a dinner we may or may not have later. Like, if this is setting up a
Young Avengers,
she doesn't realize the sacrifice that goes along with it, and then later she has to learn the sacrifice. Right. And I do think that this is not to use what some folks are using to criticize this movie. This does feel very Marvel-y, right? Like, it does feel like she'll trust me. She'll have to deal with these consequences later. Wink, trotting on to the next one. Like, that, it does feel that way a little bit, where we're sort of having to do some of that. So I get your point, and I think you're right. I think she'll eventually I do get, though, it's just, I enjoyed seeing Scott's interpretation and the importance of the relationship to him, where he's like, I'm even willing to be on the wrong side of this,
right,
to preserve what I have.
And he was I like that Scott has always been a good dad. Like, it hasn't been a fluctuation of, oh, he's in and out of my life. It's like, if one thing is clear through Ant-Man, heist movie or no heist movie, the jump from heist movie to sci-fi movie, whatever it is, he's been a good dad consistently. And that's something that I like to see, is like, hey, he's trying his hardest to be just a good father, just to be there. And like, that's also fine. You know what I mean? And so I enjoyed that a lot. I got a question. Not really a question. I have a
comment, question, whatever you have. I'm excited to have it.
Do we think that this movie would have been received a little bit differently with a different character at the focus?
What do you mean?
Like, what respect?
If not the Ant-Man family.
Oh.
What, you know, is there a different character? I have a family in mind that I think that this would have been better with. But then I'm also thinking about other options as well. Is there a way that Doctor Strange could have been the lead in this movie, and it would have been maybe everything I wanted it to be with the Kang interaction? That's the biggest thing for me. Let me start there. The one thing that I was excited about the most in this movie was Jonathan Majors and Kang.
Yeah, and it delivered on that. I think it delivered.
It did. And what I didn't really care for was Ant-Man is a funnier movie. I don't want to say I didn't really care for it. The comedic timing of some things was off to me.
Well, this movie is jarring tone-wise. And I don't know a better way to say it. And I'm speaking as somebody that enjoyed it, but I mean, you'd have like, haha, it's Paul Rudd in a Baskin Robbins outfit as he's trying to get through the multiversal storm to save his daughter. I was like, this is funny, but like, this is super serious and like mind-bending weird to see a bunch of Ant-Mans. Like, did that guy die? Yeah. It's tonally all over the place.
Yeah. And it's just, and it's like you have these moments with Kang that are so fucking serious. Like, he is beating the dog shit out of Ant-Man.
Ant-Man got his ass kicked. Like, he didn't do anything to Kang.
Whooped. even when he did try to throw a little punch at his jaw, you could tell Kang kind of like ate that shit. And so I was like, good. And he was throwing some jabs in there. Like that little Creed training came in, like he was like scoop, scoop, scoop. And I was like, God damn, he big as hell.
Right.
Yeah. There's no reason Ant-Man should have come out alive on that one. Like,
yeah, because Kang really could have just
He messed him up.
He could have dog walked his ass. But was Ant-Man the right character to do this storytelling and introduction with? Could you see it done with anybody else and could be done better? I think Anna says she agrees with me. I don't think Ant-Man as a superhero.
So
I share the next comment she made because that's.
But who else could have done it? Only Ant-Man had time in the quantum realm.
I love it.
Because Anna is me in this a little bit. Because Anna for me is like, yeah, maybe he's not the strongest, maybe a comedic superhero, or up until this point, as far as the MCU is. And I think this is another instance of like saying like, we're inspired by the comics in comics,
Right.
but reread that again. Inspired is bolded, underlined, and italicized.
Yeah.
Like inspired by like
adaptation.
So I think to a certain extent, I think in terms of the MCU, Anna's 100% right. Ant-Man's the only one that has ever talked about the quantum realm. They're the only one. I mean, it was the main focal point of Ant-Man and the Wasp. There was a 2-hour movie about the Ant-Man trying to get to the quantum realm, so much so that they were talking about quantum like fusing like of your own, the quantum realm, making it into your own DNA. It was the only one with that record. Now, comic book wise, Fantastic Four seems to deal a lot more with this.
But what they call the micro, what do they call it?
They call it a microverse.
Yep.
But that's too much. And Marvel has never been one to say, like, you know, we're going to introduce a new villain, a new location, and a new superhero family.
I understand.
That's actually a good
I just don't think that. Think about it. Look back throughout all of the MCU.
You're right.
It's either new superhero and what I would determine a like not a lower class villain, but not a global threat level villain. Let's
Eternals. What about Eternals? They did it in Eternals.
You're right. They did all three.
That
Eternals.
that is the one difference.
That's the exception. That proves
but also
rule.
look at the reception of Eternals. People fucking hated that.
Did they hate Eternals because of the
weird?
No, it was because they were banging out in the field and nobody heard it.
That was true. And no sand and crotches. That was also a problem.
That's why, yeah.
2 thumbs down for
barely
me.
a romance scene. Like
barely.
that was. They were like, this is the first romance scene.
It wouldn't go on
MCU
Nip
film.
Talk.
And it was like, anyway, here's Gemma Chan's back. Okay. Anyway, there's this really big alien with like 8 eyes, and it was like, that's it? Are you serious? Like, are you serious right now?
Get your tits
this
out.
is what you hyped Gemma Chan's
Come
back?
on,
But
really?
Iron Man 2 is like Iron Man 2 is not a new villain, not a new location, like not a new superhero, not a new location, but new concept plus new villain.
I disagree.
Easy to understand.
You get War Machine, and you get introduced to War Machine. That's a new hero, and then you get a new villain with Whiplash and Justin Hammer,
but not a global threat level villain. Those are, in terms of the MCU, those are B squad level villains.
Okay, so you get Spider-Man, then you also get Skrulls, then you also get Mysterio.
Those are like 8 different movies.
Buckets.
No, that's
all in Iron Man 2?
No.
I was like, what movie did you watch?
Spider-Man No Way Home.
You gotta stop buying bootlegs.
Far From Home. Spider-Man Far From Home.
We'll go back to that in a bonus episode.
This Kang theory got my head hurting.
It does. Your brain is everywhere.
Skrulls, Vulture, and Mysterio in one movie. No, I'm kidding. I think Fantastic Four, given the history of Fantastic Four and its critical and audience reception, was never going to be on the table.
No. It's too soon to have the Fantastic
Four.
Yeah. I mean, on paper, contract wise, as planning, as I don't even know what you would call it, like outside of being like when it comes to planning the MCU, it's way too soon to include Fantastic Four. But I feel like this story could have been done better with a different type of family. Like you got grandma and grandpa, they got their own thing. Grandma, grandpa, Hope, all in the same ship. Then you get Cassie and Ant-Man. Then you got a Kang story and a halfway MODOK story. And then you get a Quantum Realm story because everybody exists in Quantum Realm. Then you kind of get a halfway Bill Murray giving like a little bit of the past.
Not even.
Yeah, Bill Murray's in the past.
Yeah. An eighth.
Yeah.
Bill Murray is like, hey, are you feeling like you don't know what's going on? Here's Bill Murray to make you feel better. Like
that's exactly what it feels like.
You love Bill Murray from Ghostbusters.
He had sex with Michelle Pfeiffer. All right, y'all. Now he gets eaten.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
I going back to your question though, Marcus, I feel like I'm gonna cover like the practicalities of it because I think you two explored like the narrative pieces of it really well. And Anna's saying here, I kept losing track of all the characters and where they were in the story.
Me too.
By the way, me too.
Yeah, me too.
When Michelle Pfeiffer and Michael Douglas and Evangeline Lilly are like in the equivalent of a desert.
Yeah.
And like I was just like, why am I seeing this? Like, this is so
she sliced the guy's arm off just to ride a stingray, and I was like,
right. And like that's B-movie schlock that I enjoy, but it was like I want to know what's happening to Scott and Cassie. Yeah. Anyway, I agree with that, Anna. There was just so much happening here, and Evangeline Lilly's just like, I'm here, and everyone's like, nobody cares. But I think so when you're looking to like introduce Kang, I feel like what happened was they were like, okay, like what movies do we have under contract that we can put Kang in? Like, they're like, can we get Elizabeth Olsen? And they're like, no, like she's done. She did multiverse. And like, okay, can we get Captain Marvel? And like, she's got to do her own thing. Okay, what about Iron Man? He's dead. And they're like, okay, who do we have left?
We've got Ant-Man. Somebody said, who?
Right. And they look at the slate, they're like, we got Guardians and Moon Knight and Ant-Man. And they're like, okay, Ant-Man this. Like it just kind of felt like who was ready and available.
Yeah.
And it felt like that's how they made this decision. For me, I do feel like having a Doctor Strange or a Wanda like type conflict with Kang would be, I think that would be really cool because you're getting into like Nexus events, you're getting into like really the nitty-gritty of the multiverse. But I also understand why they went with Ant-Man because it's very, very contained. It's something that you can get your head around because I think Marvel's going to start challenging the audiences a little bit here because I think Loki was the first step. Like they were like, okay, watch Loki if you're because this is what's going to come. And I feel like for the movie audiences, they're like, it's going to be too much if this is like expanded anymore. So Ant-Man gives us a chance to like, it's only in the quantum realm. You're running into Kang in a very limited area with limited resources. And then we're going to show you what we can do with Kang now that you understand the basic.
That's a good point.
That's a good point. Now that you understand there are other versions of him to deal with. And that's why the stinger at the very end of like essentially the Loki season 2 trailer, like was very much like Victor Timely is one of the notable aliases of Kang. So dealing with him is like you just saw him here, you know he's dangerous.
Right.
And even Loki says like, no, that's him.
Like that's him, dude.
Yeah. Yeah. I think go ahead.
And I appreciate that point of like the contained. When you tell a story in a contained world, it is a little bit easier to consume because if that would happen in the real world, you would have been wondering where was all the Avengers at? Where was blah 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 blah.
Right.
So I do appreciate that theory. I guess for me, I'm kind of like, so is it this idea that Kang, all of those Kangs and the Council of Kangs can pop up? I'm not used to. I remember what I was saying. I'm not used to seeing the big bad villain in so many projects that aren't the big thing.
Yeah,
because we didn't get Thanos' first appearance.
Oh my gosh.
Till end of the Avengers. I gotta do it myself. When he grabs the gauntlet, right?
Technically the end of, I feel like it was Age of Ultron was where he was like, sometimes you have to do things yourself. And like he's pulling it out. I feel like it was.
All I remember is when Guardians of the Galaxy came out, like Thanos had speaking
Yes.
lines, he had presence, and people were like, "Oh snap! Like he
Yeah.
is right there. You don't even know he's right." Like the
Yeah.
gravitas that had, and like people in my theater were whispering, like it was a big deal. And I like that we're going the whole other way now of just like, no.
Completely.
No, you're gonna see him all the time.
Like he could literally pop, and with Bob
Yeah.
Iger taking over and saying no, less is more, quality over quantity. Honestly, Kang could pop up in any of these projects that isn't what Thunderbolts and
he can be anywhere, and they can hand wave it to be just fine.
Yeah. I think what they're gonna do is they are gonna do all of the big like a bunch of, they're gonna do the big ones, right? Like they're gonna do Kang, they're gonna do Immortus, they're gonna do Scarlet Centurion. Like we're gonna see these like 6 big versions of him, Victor Timely. Like we're gonna see these big versions of him before we get to Beyonder or Kang Prime. Like
does that water Kang down? Before I get there, like there's this idea that if you keep showing me and teasing me on Kang, and then every Kang gets their ass beat, if nobody understands the end goal is to get to a bigger, badder version of Kang, and then it's like, okay, does that with the people's attention spans, does that throw anybody off?
I think, I guess to me, I love the idea of Kang being everywhere and being present and being like this just thorn in people's sides of like, what is it gonna take to get rid of this guy? Because like Maggie and I had this really detailed discussion of like, this dude controls the timelines, like they understand it, they have the technology. How do you get rid of this guy? Because you can have Avengers in another multiverse defeat him, and there's another Kang that's gonna go there. Like, and how do you do that? And I feel like there's a really cool way to wrestle with that question. I think there's a really cool way to show that question, especially with the movies that we have slated coming out. Like we have Captain America, New World Order, Thunderbolts, Blade, like Deadpool. Like I feel like there's some really fun ways to show like, no, Kang's gonna keep coming no matter how many times you fight him, no matter how many times you defeat him. This guy's gonna keep coming.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's the really big question of how do you deal with that? I have my own theories, I have my own ideas, I have some fun ideas, but I feel like it doesn't water it down because it's more just like this monster you can't kill. And that's scary.
Well, again, what fills you with more anxiety? Right? Like you as an audience member, like what fills me with more anxiety is this concept of like, no, it's not just that like, oh, he's I dealt with him, but he said more were coming. God, every time, and they're all dangerous. Like if they're all dangerous and there are more coming, then every time I interact with one on screen, I'm going to be like, okay, what's his danger going to be?
Right.
Like, why is he dangerous? So Brian, to your point, like, that cloud of Kang, some version showing up and fucking shit up, and then maybe not being on screen anymore. And I think the other thing is it's like, yeah, if where I go and where my knowledge of the character comes from is it's like, yeah, Ant-Man could beat this one because he's not the most dangerous one. Yeah, Loki can beat this one because he's not the most dangerous version of this one. Like, imagine if those are the ones that go away. Imagine the one that you haven't seen yet that they couldn't beat by themselves, because we know that he's out there. It's just, what does it look like and what does it be like? I get the concern though. And I think, Marcus, your point of like other audiences are going to have a hard time. Like if you're not a deep, like comic book nerd, like we are, it's going to be hard for you to see the other. It's going to be hard for you to be like, well, you just beat him, so he can't be that dangerous. I think there are going to be folks who are into the movies, but not like deeply steeped in the lore, that are going to go like, yeah, but you beat him, so it's not a big deal. I don't get it.
I was expecting the ass whooping because the finale of this movie felt like something out of Endgame in more ways than one, right?
Sure.
Where Kang is facing on everybody and he's losing and he's the time chair and it's everything is at stake here. And then I don't know, I guess I was just expecting Kang to whoop his ass and then disappear. And then the whole problem is, we haven't heard from him in a while.
When did he go?
Yeah, like that was what I was anticipating to happen. Not disappointed in this movie. I did enjoy it, right? It's not as bad as people said it was going to be. I don't have a lot of particular things. Like I will rewatch this. The only thing I really had a big problem with was MODOK's face.
I
it was
love his
just-
little face.
I'm so
that-
glad you brought that up.
Yeah,
I love
the
his
CGI
face.
in sometimes the effects in some areas just was not
Oh,
the best.
that desert sequence. That desert
Wasn't the
sequence was
best.
very like
When she put her hand
I-
on the stingray, right?
Yeah, I was I was like, this is not good.
It
Like,
was. I was
and
the
I'm
same
usually
thing.
not harsh. I'm usually not harsh on like CG stuff or VFX, but
Yeah.
it was just like, it's very clear you put Michelle Pfeiffer and Michael Douglas and
Mhm.
Evangeline Lilly in front of like the volume set they use for
Mhm.
Mandalorian. You told them to like look for something in the distance
Mhm.
and told them to act their butts off. And like,
Faster,
it
more
was just,
intense.
it was not good and not what I expect from like the MCU. And I don't know if it's because we know the history of MCU not treating VFX artists very well, and we know that they rush stuff. We know that they change stuff at the last minute. That was the only time I felt that way in the entire movie. Everything else looked spectacular, especially the finale. I will watch this movie again for the finale. That was really good, but man, some of this stuff though looked real rough, and I don't know why.
Brian, this movie had reshoots a month and a half ago.
Did it really?
In an interview with with an interview with Paul Rudd, he said like, yeah, we had to come back to reshoot the finale, the final pieces of it.
You're
again.
kidding.
Yes.
I wonder why.
I also wonder why.
Huh.
And I think, and
It
remember,
can't be because
Kevin,
of the CG stuff, right?
no, it's not. But Kevin Feige has also said like, yeah, reshoots in our business, especially with this business, they're gonna happen, and
Yeah.
no one should be alarmed by them. I also think, Brian, it was really intentional. If you noticed that the CG folks got top billing in the end credit scene
did.
ahead
I did
of
notice that.
They
all
did.
of your actors and actresses.
Before the actors.
Yeah.
And the
I
actresses.
actually didn't know. Now that I'm thinking about it, I didn't.
Oh yeah,
notice
it
that.
went director, it
Mhm.
went producers, it went top CG folks, and then it
Oh
went
wow.
Paul Rudd and everybody else.
Yep.
Well, I mean, as it should. Like that
As it should,
finale
absolutely.
sequence is absolutely stellar.
That's a lot of CGI. You
It-
can't do that practically.
No, like none of that was practical, and
Yeah.
I was really impressed by it. It's again, it was only one sequence in this movie. Like I don't think it's like a moral failing of anyone, but it's just like Marvel, slow down and just like finish your homework. Like
Yes.
it was just very clear that it was rushed.
Yeah.
can't go outside until you finish your homework, Marvel.
That's what it feels
Yeah.
like.
Yeah, it's better to do it right than to get it done. Like, do it the right way the first time than just to do it. I think, Marcus, you like MODOK for me. My biggest gripe is I felt like MODOK was used for comic relief.
Oh, that's all that he was used for. Even
And
they laughed at him when he
yeah.
died.
it kind of
Well,
made
yeah.
me. It kind of made me a little like, come on, like you can't.
What?
You can't do him a little bit different. Like he's
What?
supposed to be like a threatening villain, and you threw him under the bus and
That's
kind of went
true.
like meh.
Oh my gosh, I'm totally on the other side of this. MODOK has never ever been any like serious threat. He's a floating little head with guns. Like he's never
Recently,
been
yes. Original
anything.
appearance, no. Like original appearance, he's like a big threat to the Avengers that has to be overcome.
Well, sure.
Recently, I think we as a society have kind of gone like, all right, he's a big fucking floaty head with a lot of like attachments. And
Well, in the
So-
video game, he's a big threat, right?
The
Avengers
like
game.
the latest Avengers
Yeah.
that came
yeah.
out. Yeah, he's like the main big bad. But I don't know. I like the way they did MODOK because like if they tried to play that for serious, like I would have like laughed in their face. Because like
especially with like just stretching his face.
It's just
like that was funny. It should be funny.
is it supposed to be funny? I didn't think
Yeah.
I seen better CGI, and then for you to show me, we
Oh well, I mean, look,
We missed
look,
Luis. We
Anna's
missed
typing
Luis
in, saying MODOK was a poor substitute for Lewis.
We do
Don't get
miss
me
Luis.
wrong. I think we needed him to recap everything that had happened since
Yeah.
the last time we.
I'm
had
surprised he
seen him.
didn't make an appearance.
I'm
I'm
also
very
surprised.
surprised too, because that would have been sick as hell. But what?
Also, he wasn't present at the dinner. Like
Right.
that's your friends and family
Yeah.
after like celebrating a big event, and your business partners aren't there.
MODOK just didn't hit for me, and it's the face. I'm fine with how they carried the character, but the "don't be a dick, I don't want to die a dick," and at least I died an Avenger, and then they laughed over his body. You know what I mean? Like it just kind of, I don't know.
Well, I mean, yeah, you should. Like he tried to kill a kid, like,
but then he came back.
You should like the dude. The dude is a terrible person. Even when he was a regular human, he was trying to steal stuff to give to Hydra terrorists.
But he came
and also tried to kill a child, not just
also,
like a
again,
fully fledged teenager, but also tried to kill Cassie when she was a child.
And then he goes to the quantum realm, and he's like, "Well, the only way that I can survive here is to be a floating head with guns and subjugate this entire population." Like, at no point was he like, "Nah, you know what? I'm gonna turn a new leaf and I'm gonna rebel." Like, no. Like, the only time he did a good thing was when Cassie was like, "What are you doing?" And he's like, "Yeah." Like, that's funny.
But for MODOK to tell me who to be, I don't know who to be. Y'all didn't find a problem with that? That we waited till the end of the movie to hear that line? Tell me who to be. Who am I supposed to be? And she's just like, don't be a dick. And I'm kind of like, either introduce the character or don't. Like, use him or don't.
Well, but that's funny.
Well, here's the portion.
Is this a funny movie, or is this Kang is kicking your ass and this is the Conqueror's movie?
Well, again, it's both.
Yeah. Well, and here's the other thing.
I need them to pick a tone.
You're right. There's some tonal problems. To be fair, I feel like MODOK is always one of those, like, is he a machine or is he a human being?
Mm-hmm.
Because when you see him at his most villainous, he has given himself entirely to the machine.
Sure.
When you see him at his most comedic is battling between these machine level ambitions, but with human characteristics. So I think to a certain extent, they did a good job of flushing that out here. It's just, I think more or less the issue is it's a tone problem.
Yeah.
Yes, is it comedic for them to be laughing because he's like, I'm an Avenger? Like, yes, that's funny, but also like he's dead. And the last thing he does is like limp wrist Scott in the face.
Yeah.
And it's like, which is hilarious. But like, and there are moments, but then you have to juxtapose that with moments where Kang looks at him and goes, "Don't speak in my presence again."
Right.
Like those are the same
absolutely
character.
Right.
Like,
you're absolutely
and that's
right.
hard to square up.
No,
it is. That fucking MODOK.
No,
it's hilarious.
MODOK is this silly little man. Like, he's like the embodiment of like an assistant regional sales manager who's never gonna get the promotion, and the little bit of power that he does have completely misuses it. And every time he goes home, he's like, "No, I'm gonna get the promotion," even though everybody hates him because he abuses everyone around him.
That's the reason why, if you're looking for a great MODOK, like if you're trying to get your MODOK fill, go watch the Hulu show MODOK.
Yeah,
Pat Oswalt MODOK. It is absolutely outstanding.
Like, I don't know, the way they played MODOK in this movie, it reminds me like of Randall from Recess. I don't know if anybody watched that show.
Oh, shit.
Just
yeah.
this
Randall the
kind of
snitch.
snitchy guy who just, and it's like, that's why I enjoyed the line of Cassie and the simple delivery of like, don't be a dick. Like, this isn't hard. Like, just, you see what's happening. Don't be a jerk. And then like, that's all it took for him to like do his thing. That's funny. And then he's like, I died an Avenger. We clearly know he didn't. We know what an Avenger does. Yeah. You're just like a weasel in a robot suit, dude. Like, get out of here. I loved it. I loved MODOK. I thought it was funny.
I'm glad. Assistant
to the regional manager. Thank you, Anna.
I'm trying to think of like there's any. I think there's a lot. There's a lot.
We've been talking about this movie for like
an hour and a half.
20 minutes.
Yeah, where do you rank this? Where do you rank this in recent releases? Like last 3 Marvel projects or movies, more specifically.
This is hard.
I don't think I'm going to be able to rank it without really thinking about it and combing through it. I think what I will say is, as I could dismiss Thor and Love and Thunder as being as a Taika Waititi's a comedian. He worked more comedy in. That's why it had a tone problem. I think this though says no. Like it wasn't just Taika.
Yeah.
I as a Marvel person, if I'm looking at the past few projects,
that's a good point.
There's a part of me that's like, no, it wasn't Taika Waititi being problematic as a director and a comedian. There's a tone problem, and Marvel is trying to keep the fun by being like watching Ant-Man fight like soldiers on a battlefield in a tiny little quantum realm isn't fun enough. So work some comedy in there.
Yeah.
Like it does feel like they hired a team of folks to be like, punch it up a little and make it funny. Like
100%.
And that scares me.
Do we remember the
agree.
first phase of Marvel when the tone of the movies in the first few phases of Marvel, like it wasn't as funny. Like if I'm thinking back to Iron Man, right? It had funny moments, right? One-liners, punchers. Even Thor smashing his beer on the floor saying more.
I like this. Give me another.
Give me another. And then even give me something else. Give me another. Give me there's like I'm thinking of all these different like I'm trying to
the original Avengers where he goes like that man's playing Galaga. Like that's
yeah. Like that it was like hints of funny, but now I'm trying to detect when the tone switch happened for Marvel.
I mean, I feel like it's always been this like action movie star Schwarzenegger wink at you. I feel like it's always been like that, but I do feel like there have been more winks in some projects. I don't mind the winks. I have enjoyed the comedy. I actually think the comedy in Miss Marvel is really good. And when they call out stuff on themselves, I also think that's funny. But I agree. I feel like this movie didn't know how to blend the two. We can thank Jess for the main
in parentheses. Thank. Yeah, I agree with that though. I agree with that.
I think the other thing is we are starting to feel the absence of Robert Downey Jr. because Robert Downey Jr. as an actor somehow was able to deliver that like nudge, like suave, like
he was
suave.
Tony Stark.
I mean, he was able to deliver that so well that they're like people like that. They want more of that. And it's like, no, we didn't want more of that. We wanted more of him.
Which Tom Holland does well.
It's the understated humor passing a comment that only the audience hears and not necessarily the characters on screen here.
It's not a turn. It's not, I'm going to make a joke, turn and look at the audience and say, laugh now. Like that's kind of what I felt like the past.
That's exactly what Don't Be a Dick is.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, Catherine Newton delivers perfectly. It's not on her.
It's fine. No. I just think it's interesting.
Well, she's saying it in the middle of a battlefield, and you're like, oh, okay, we're doing this now. Okay, all right. Now we're back to trying to fight Kang, who's like losing it and just zapping people, and he's clearly very angry. Like
it's a big tone change. Like, first of all, you want me to feel bad for Scott getting his ass walked in the thing? I didn't feel bad either. That was the one time I got a root for the black man during Black History Month. But Kang was like whooping his. I mean,
I have seen every MCU project that has been released, and me knowing most of these movies have a good ending, for like a solid 5 seconds, I was like, is Kang gonna beat the hell out of Scott and like kill him? Is he like this was only 5 seconds. I knew, but I was like, are they gonna like give him a concussion? Because this guy's getting the paint beat out of him.
Yeah.
Doug Wagner is here for all the suffering. What greater suffering than to have Kang beat the dog piss out of Ant-Man, and then his daughter has to cry about how she was the one responsible for bringing him to the quantum realm.
Oh, that's fucking bleak.
Killing her own dad. Like, get fucked. Like that would have been awesome.
That's how you set the tone for a fucking.
Are you
kidding me?
Right? Hire me as a writer. Trust me, my anxiety will work for you. Let me give you the worst possible scenario. You want to punish somebody? Punish Cassie. You invented a device that brought your entire family to the quantum realm. You just got a portion of your dad back. You feel like a dick because you lectured him about you need to be more of a superhero. He acts like a superhero, and then your mistake kills him because he runs up against Kang the Conqueror, this impossible force, and now you have to live your life without your dad because you were a dick you made shitty decisions. Like, that would have been great.
I feel like he just had a great release.
Two thoughts. I want to say,
you need a cigarette, Doug, or something.
I might need to write that down and talk about that later.
Marvel, I know you listen to our podcast.
Well, we know you listen.
I do.
Anna says maybe it's Janice. We haven't talked about we are now. Brian, can you remember your point? Just hold.
Yeah,
can you remember
no.
point?
Go ahead, do your thing.
I want to talk about Michelle Pfeiffer. Okay, because God damn. If anybody, I thought black don't crack, but Michelle Pfeiffer, she must be mixed with something because God damn, I mean, every time she came on the screen with that wispy ass hair, and she just looked beautiful. I mean,
Marcus, I know that your mother has identified that you're single, and if I can recommend a dating pool for you, have you considered older women?
Oh yes,
because
now
you have a type. Hannah Waddingham, that sent you through the roof. Michelle Pfeiffer, it's polling at an all-time high. Marcus, I hate to tell you this in front of the world.
Ooh,
Angela Bassett. Marcus, you might be.
I like cougars.
Into cougars.
Wow!
Like, and I don't think
epiphany.
I don't think there's any shame in it.
Shit!
Own your shit,
oh my
man.
gosh!
But have you considered?
Whoa.
Have you considered dating cougars?
Wow. Oh my gosh!
Also, Marcus, your complaint about most of your recent romantic folks is they're not mature enough. Look, man, I'm not trying to out your shit in front of everybody, but you might be into cougars.
I mean, if Michelle Pfeiffer, Catwoman herself, helped you make this realization, and I just think that's really
boy just became a man.
I think that's really neat
on this podcast. What'd you say, Brian? I think that's really neat.
I just think it's neat. Like Michelle Pfeiffer, like she's been with you in a lot of superhero movies, like
a lot.
And
that's
then
true.
She's like, she basically comes to Quantumania is like, yes, I'm like a grandmother in this, and I've seen some stuff, and it's like you then have that realization, like through this whole journey. I think that's neat.
It starts with leather and ends with wings, and that is just like how my journey. That's how my journey begins.
Yeah, man.
But Roman Myers said this sounds like this should be a bonus episode. Yeah, if you missed our last bonus episode, you can watch that now in the Patreon. We had a really great time.
I had hot chips as we talked about wrestlers. That's what happened.
Flaming hot Cheetos. Really quick to Anna's point, though. Really quick before we even delve into more nonsense. Janet really could have like cut a lot of this in the bud. Do I regret bringing up
Michelle? Maybe. Sorry.
But yeah, I mean, Janet at any point in time could have been like, hey, so like I was like a rebellion leader and some bad stuff went down. There's also a guy down there. He has traversed the multiverse and he's a bad dude. Okay, let's go. Let's gear up and let's go. Yeah. She could have said that at any point in time. I understand for the story why she didn't. Very tropey, but yeah, we could blame
and they just
Janet.
Forgave her. Like they forgave, and which is fine.
Nobody was
like
gonna
you could have said
care.
that. Yeah, nobody gave a fuck. If your husband didn't care that you was getting your shit off and having sex with an
alien,
Quantumania person, like. Okay, and he was like, you know what, babe, it's okay. I had needs. And she was like, I had needs. And he said, I had needs too. I slept with somebody. And he was like, it didn't work out. And she said, what happened? He said, he wasn't you, babe. And that was the whole conversation. I thought that was hilarious, right?
Like, that was great.
That was funny. Like that was
great.
That was great. But she should have said something sooner.
I mean, she could have. I mean, I'm not saying we should blame Janet, but Janet, you're not innocent. And I believe that you could talk to this family about anything. Like they've seen stuff. Like Scott talks to a raccoon, and your husband like used to. You get it.
The three of you got collectively out, like snapped out of existence by a muscular grimace. Like let's not miss words here. Like
like people are gonna be okay with you having a separate life. It's gonna be
believe it or
fine,
not. I was
Janet.
down there for 30 years. I mean, yeah.
Oh. I mean, yeah, I feel like that's a no-brainer. The math checks out.
This is turning into something very.
Sir, I'm fighting amoebas. I am running into a man.
Everything is so wet, and you're not going to be inspired.
I'm horny, goddammit.
Okay, I didn't expect it to take a turn that way.
It is fucking wet. Everything was just so wet, and I fucking hated it. Like, I
mean, at least they had a bar. I mean, in a quantum realm, that's nice.
True.
That's nice. I would have taken advantage of that.
Why everybody beating around the bush and nobody wants to say anything?
I'm just saying, like, I mean, yeah, like if I'm fighting amoebas and the only way for me to get closed is to slice a guy's arm off. Like, yeah, like you got to make your life there. Like, it's
true.
weird.
It'd be irresponsible for you not to make a life there.
I feel like the movie was good. Like
I love that that's the fucking end of this.
Yes, that's
like
perfect.
movie,
Absolutely.
You know what? I feel like the movie was good.
It was good. It's a little overhated. I definitely see why Ant-Man isn't anybody. I don't know if Ant-Man is anybody's top number one favorite trilogy. So I understand why like Ant-Man isn't anybody's necessarily.
Yeah, I get that.
May not be received as well because it's an quote unquote Ant-Man movie. But I feel like Ant-Man has been consistent with their theme and tone throughout. This one just gets a little bit more rocky because you introduced an entirely new type of character that is the opposite tone of Ant-Man. You know what I mean? And so like that's the only problem. But I want to give major props to Jonathan Majors, man. Like,
100%.
Yes,
he is taking this role as seriously as he can. And he also said he's not watching Ant-Man 3 because he doesn't want it to like hold him back from the future Kangs and versions that he'll do. Like he wants to be able to continue to evolve that character. And I don't know what bag Marvel gave him to do this.
Yeah,
but it had to be a significantly big bag.
He's got to be getting like percentage of revenue on every film he's in or something like that.
I mean, to play
he walked away from their first meeting.
Yeah, he did walk away from there. Oh, he almost walked away from their first meeting.
Well, and they were again, him up. I do appreciate that acting philosophy of like, I'm going to approach each one of these characters as a separate person with their own motivation instead of one version of the same thing. That means we're about to get some outstanding acting going forward. Like it's just going to be so good that we're not going to know what to do with it.
I can't wait to see. I wish that the old guard was here to see him interact with that old guard, but I'm assuming that's what Secret Wars, if he's the Beyonder and that's how that goes down, then they will be back to be able to interact with Kang a little bit more. I want to see a Reed Richards interaction as well.
Well, and to be fair, I mean, Jonathan Majors even said out loud, he's like, I would really like to see Kang fight Tony Stark. I really love to see that be a thing.
Robert Downey Jr. is coming back for Secret Wars.
I
am manifesting that. That's not even a question for me. Like
we know that. We know it, right? It's just a matter of how.
Right.
It's like we know it is just a matter of how.
Yeah.
And I'm still trying to figure out who leads the Avengers in Secret Wars.
Captain Marvel. It's your time to shine, baby.
Captain Marvel. Got this. My money's on Spider-Man, but it could go either way.
Yeah. I do too. I really do too. Like I think Chris Evans, I miss Chris Evans a lot. I think he was just such a strong.
Well, and I feel like to cut to the chase, I think this movie is a fine out of 10. I'm not even like going to give it a number score. Like this movie is fine. It is fine. It is an MCU movie. If you like MCU movies, you will like this. That's it. Like it's a good entry in the series. And like, I know Anna mentioned that she watched Endgame and she misses those OG folks, like the original crew. And I do think it's interesting. Like we don't have any plans for like a new next gen Avengers team up. And it's really weird how we have like all these mostly 20-year-old women just like, hey, we're all the women that trained under the original Avengers. We're ready to go. And it seems like everybody's like, nah, it's fine. Like, I mean, I just feel like that movie writes itself. It's weird. I think it's weird that we don't have that. I don't know. I think it's weird.
Brian, I think that your ranking system's perfect. I think if you're someone who has stuck with the MCU to this point, you're going to love this movie.
Yeah.
Like, I think if you're someone who is jumping in now, it's going to be tough. Like, it's going to be tough. Like, it's going to be tough. If you're like, let me see what the hype is all about. Like, I think you're going to be like, what the fuck is going on?
There are those people. My parents went and saw Spider-Man Far From Home after not watching any of the other MCU movies except Iron Man and Captain America, the First Avenger. So, like, there are those people.
Bill.
This is not a good movie to jump in on.
Yeah,
America's ass.
I think it's going to be tough, and I think that's why it is getting some hate. And from that perspective, which is greater? Do you write a movie so that way anybody can jump in but sacrifice all the work you've done, or do you say, look, it's out there, do your homework and then join it? Like I get that is another conversation for another day about whether or not that's a strategy moving forward that will work for you.
It's a good beginning movie. If this is only kicking off phase 5, right? Yeah. And we're not getting as much quality, content in phase 5 that we were like at the speed and the rate of which we were getting in phase 4 on the tail end between series and movies. So I think if this is the start and they're letting us sit with this for a little bit, and then I don't know what's coming out, what's due to come out next. Is there a series that's coming out next, or is it
technically
is it Loki?
Technically, Secret Invasion is up first, and then it's
Jesus.
Loki.
Oh god. Okay,
What If season 2 is in the works? Which Marvel, you're listening, get Doug to write that What If episode about Scott and Cassie.
Yep, I would love to write that for you.
Do that.
Yeah, those are the series
We're not asking.
on deck, and then the movies. It's Guardians, which is gonna
Guardians
finish that
is what,
trilogy.
May? Yeah, Guardians,
and that's gonna be sad. And then we're gonna have the Marvels in November, and then that's pretty much it for this year.
Damn,
really slowing down the output of Marvel, which is
Jesus.
Like, give us a breath.
I'm not used to that.
No, me neither.
Yeah. So the Marvels is gonna be it for Marvel stuff this year, which
I know that
think
movie's gonna get so much hatred just off the rip, and we.
I know. People,
people
are gonna make up the dumbest reasons to not like that movie, and I look forward to that. And then the back half of it is Captain America, Thunderbolts, and Blade, and that finishes out the films for Phase 5. So I don't know. I'm looking forward to this phase.
Yeah, it's gonna be good. I'm excited about it. Gentlemen, anything that you all would like to plug for this week? Brian?
Hey folks, go check out thelovenerds.com. We got recipes there. Go check them out. You know the bag. Go check out the website.
Word.
Yeah. Leaving it right there. Marcus, what do you got?
Never forget to follow the mantra. Always Nope. Never offended.
Always humble. Never offended.
Either way, frontwards or backwards, the mantra works. Never forget to follow the mantra. Never offended. Always humble. You can shop the mantra right now at followthemantra.myspreadshirt.com. All right. We are working on getting a GoDaddy.com little handle, make this
yeah.
But go shop right now. Valentine's designs are up. There are 3 Valentine's designs up. Make sure you go get them before they leave. And there also may or may not be a 15% discount on the website currently at the moment. So go ahead and cop yourself something nice for you and your lover. And new music is on the way from me and Soul Tie. But above anything else, continue to follow the mantra. Never offended, always humble.
Whose mom are you going to buy that for?
Who's me?
Yeah,
Michelle Pfeiffer.
That's fine.
Her fine ass.
I would do that too.
I
like psyched myself out. I also started thinking that like if you change it to never there's a way you could make it hone, humble, always, offended, never, and you could change it up and it's different.
What the fuck happened? What's happening?
Guys, I think I had a stroke like 5 minutes ago.
You went into the quantum realm and came out this way.
What year is it? Jonathan Majors just kicked my ass, and I don't know where I am.
I was a little worried. I'm about to put a spoon in your mouth because I didn't know which direction that was going.
I would like to plug this podcast. Share us with a friend or a family member. Tell us about it. Tell them to listen. Or if you're feeling like you want to donate, head over to patreon.com/filmsinblackandwhite to join the Patreon there. We got great stuff there, bonus episodes, polls, and all sorts of things that are coming on that front. So but the best way to help us, recommend us to a friend or a family member.
Please.
Gentlemen, we have a 3-step process to success. Brian,
hello.
Lay us on that first step.
Hey, folks, I can't stress it enough to read a book.
It's
and
important.
I know I'm going to be a little harsh here. I know you don't have anything else going on. It's end of February. Like we're still getting through the worst of the weather of the year. You got time, and you're going to be like, no, but I could just look at my phone. Don't do that. Like, what are you going to do? Like, you're going to look at your phone. You're going to scroll social media. Instead, read a book, and then you can be interesting. And then you could even post to social media that, hey, I read a book, and then talk about that book. So I know you got the time. I know it's hard, but look, I know you're staying inside. So sit down and read a book.
Absolutely.
My friend Kelly Suzamil, she has a book club page on Instagram where she posts all the books that she reads. And so it's a really good
shout out to Kelly. Marcus, would you like to lay us down with that second step?
All right, you want to make sure that you drink some water because you want to be able to nurture the quantum manials that live inside of you. And the only way that you can do that is by drinking some water. If you ever need to stick your fingers in something sticky and drive a ship, then like, hey, you got to be able to drink water. You know what I mean? You want to understand the languages of the quantumanials peoples in there. Guess what they had to do? They had to drink some goop, but I'm pretty sure that 70% of that goop was water. So just make sure that you drink some water.
Yeah, absolutely. You want to go cruising for MILFs? Drink some water. It's important. That third step to success is to look, when you're cruising for MILFs out in the wild, make sure that you get to washing that.
Are you talking about me? Is this
I
me?
am just talking about anybody who might be out there in the space.
You don't have an epiphany about me loving MILFs and then all of a sudden just having
for older women. But more specifically, look, y'all, we've been trapped inside.
I do enjoy it on the older woman.
We've been trapped inside
teach
for
you so many things.
months.
And that is
they
just
can teach
incredible
you
experience.
things, which is the most important.
Turn me upside down. Turn me out. I'm ready. Throw me up against the wall.
You know what? You're gonna get turned upside down by a cougar. Make sure you wash your ass, because if you're upside down, smells like a trash can. No one's gonna want to do it.
Nobody's gonna. And then I'm just a baby. But then that may also be another kink that got revealed.
And to be honest with you, I feel like they're over changing babies. Don't know any, but I feel like they're over it. Like at this point. Cougars in general.
I thought you meant they were too frequently changing babies.
They just don't want to.
Okay, got it.
Because they're cougars and they're past that phase in their life.
Makes sense.
But more importantly, wash your ass, folks. It's important. It's good for your hygiene. It's good for yourself, and it's good for your social life. So make sure you do that as much as possible.
How do you think? The only part about dating an older woman is running into the kids that may be my age. You know what I mean? How do I stepdaddy somebody who is also my age?
Oh, you don't. You just
that's a no go.
You just let that go. You just let that go.
That is a wave off. You don't land on that runway. You
don't touch that.
Oh, just avoid the whole thing. Just the whole situation.
That's where you go. Like, well, look, he's my age. What do you want me to do here? Like,
that's.
I can't tell a grown ass man. Go to your room.
If Marcus, if the goal is to parent somebody,
yeah,
that is not the demographic you should shoot for.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
The chat is still active, and I'm curious about what happened here. There are a lot of childless older women. There are childless older women, Marcus. So
it's true.
Just target your efforts. You were over here. Now we're getting here.
It's true.
It's
there's an audience for everybody, as they say.
There is indeed.
Quantumania, making you find your audience. I love it. I love to see these connections.
Everybody, hide your
mamas. I love that Michelle Pfeiffer did that for you.
Hide your mothers, everybody. Marcus is on the prowl.
We'll get you a shirt that says an official cougar hunter. We will be back next week. We will be back next week with another episode of Films in Black and White, covering the latest news out of Hollywood. But in the meantime, in the between time, stay safe, stay healthy. We love y'all. We appreciate y'all. We'll catch y'all next week.
Thanks, folks.
Hide your mamas for Black History Month.